Good morning, everyone. This is Nick Fenagoni, and I'm coming back to you live via Facebook. And I'm here again to talk to you a little bit about the upcoming workshop, Queer Journey Circles, that I'm offering on Saturday, November 5th. I'll tell you a little bit more information about the workshop later on, but for those of you who have been following on Facebook, there's been a lot of activity going on and talking about some of the topics that we'll be covering in the workshop. Just to remind some of you who may not have joined us last week, I'm decided to do this live video series over the next couple weeks leading up to the workshop to talk a little bit more about some of the material that we'll be covering and to give people an opportunity to ask any questions live via Facebook, or if you want, you can also leave comments if you miss this live, and I'm happy to respond to them later on. Next week I'll also be doing another video feed, probably on Saturday at 11 a.m. at the same time. I will confirm that on Facebook, so look out for that one next week. So over the next few minutes, as I'm talking a little bit more about the workshop or the topic for today, feel free to ask any questions in the comment section below, and I'm happy to respond to those now. So I wanted to talk a little bit more today about trauma and how it relates to our relationship to our own power. But before I do that, I wanted to start with a little story because this last week was actually National Coming Out Day. And I think that's a really important day to continue to honor and to look at as we as a queer community move forward in our culture and continue to fight for our rights and for healing in ourselves and in the world. And I wanted to share a story that this week I actually found out that a friend of mine who I've known for, gosh, maybe almost 15 years now, just came out a few months ago, and I actually didn't even know about it, and they posted about it on Facebook this week. And I was really surprised to hear that someone who had been married to someone of the opposite sex and had already had a child had come out later in life. And I was really proud of that person and excited that they were finally felt safe enough and powerful enough to be able to express their truth and live in their truth. And so I think it's something that's continues to be important for us to honor and to look at. And I think that for people to come out more and more on every level of how they identify as queer is also really important. And that's also something that I noticed this week on Facebook, is that a lot of people that I know were really taking the opportunity to come out in all the different ways that they identify as queer, be it through their sexual identity or any other way. So I think it's really important for us to continue to look at what it means to be queer, both in your sexuality and your gender expression, but also just in other ways that you express who you are as a queer person or how you're different. Because that's something that is really important to continue to honor and look at, as what our differences are and what makes us different from each other, and how those differences actually make us unique and bring about strength. So again, you know, people coming out more and more, it is challenging depending on where they live and the culture in which they are living in. And you know, a lot of people don't have the freedom or the ability to come out publicly on every level that they may want to, because it's not safe in the environment in which they live. And last week I think I talked a little bit more about trauma and this idea of microaggressions as sort of a small t trauma, and I want to talk a little bit more about that today, particularly around queer identity and how that affects people's ability to come out on every level that they want to or not. And you know, again, we get a lot of messages from the media. There's a lot of issues coming out in the last year, particularly around trans identity and the whole bathroom issue that's come up, as well as a lot of what's happening in the political world, political climate around gender expression and safety and different parts of the country and different parts of the world. And so, there are lots of ways that we experience microaggressions, either directly through direct comments to us or just ways that we feel in the environment. And so that can be really challenging for we as queer people to move through the world when we don't feel safe, when we don't feel comfortable, which is why it's also really important to have queer community. What else do I want to say about that? I guess also as a result of that, as I've experienced microaggressions in the way that we're not accepted by the culture or by our family, we can then internalize a lot of that and feel shame or guilt or judgment. We judge ourselves as well as feeling judged by other people, of feeling not good enough, not whole enough, not worthy of love, not worthy of success. And so again, it's really important to look at the messages that we're getting from the outside and how we're internalizing that, and the messages that we tell ourselves about who we are and our worth and our value in the world, which can lead to depression and anxiety. And so it's really important to address that and heal that part of ourself. And this is actually something that we'll be working on in the workshop, is how do we really honor our queer identity and see that as a strength, and how do we heal those wounds of the microaggressions and the homophobia and queerphobia and transphobia, and feel more healthy in ourselves and who we are, and really value ourselves as a person to be able to have a more successful life. And this can also lead to, on a larger scale, levels of injustice. And through these microaggressions and through these injustices, there's ways that we can feel powerless and we can feel helpless, and it feels like, what's the point? And how do I continue to go on living like this when nothing seems to be working and everything is against me? And there are ways that this is a form of what we'll talk more about in the workshop, but an experience of power loss, the way that our power is taken from us, or we're not allowed to fully step into our power with more self-worth and dignity. And so it's really important to heal those parts of ourselves to feel more powerful and feel more in ourself. I'm going to adjust the camera because I notice it's falling a little bit here. So just really looking at how do we hold our power, and how is that power maybe taken from us, and what can we do to protect ourselves from not having our power taken from us, and really being able to stand in the face of injustice while still being in our power. And so that's also something we'll be looking at more in the workshop. So again, I think it's really important for us to come out as queer people at whatever level we can, and really fight for our rights and fight against injustice, and really stand in our power and learn how to hold our power without allowing other people to take that from us. And we'll be looking at all the different ways that we can do this and heal this, both internally and externally, in the workshop. And I will talk about that a little bit more next time, about this concept of power and what I mean by power, because that term power can be very confusing for people, or have a lot of strong opinions or reactions to the idea of power, and how do we hold power and not have power over, and not be power hungry. So I'll talk a little bit more about that next week. So again, the workshop is Queer Journey Circles, Reclaiming Power and Dignity, and it's on November 5th at Tara's Temple in Berkeley, and it's from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. And just a reminder for those of you out there who are maybe on the fence about it, today is the last day to register for the early bird fee. So starting tomorrow, the registration fee does go up. So you may want to take an opportunity to save your spot and save a little bit of money if you register today. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments below, and I will get back to those as soon as I can. Otherwise, you can reach out to me through my website or through the Facebook page, and I can also communicate with you there. So thank you for taking some time to watch this video, and I look forward to seeing you next week, and have a good day. Thanks.